Welcome back to Vintage Motorcycle Repair. If this is the first time that you've seen anything from this channel, it's a work in progress. We're still figuring this out. This is our disaster of a shop.
It looks better when there's not an engine being removed.
We have a motorcycle that has it's apart.
Yes.
So, as a recap of what we're doing here, I'm going to let Cameraman Jerry lead into this, and then we're going to lay out some goals of what we hope to achieve today, and maybe some ridiculous stuff that's not going to actually happen this evening, because he has school in the morning, I have work in the morning.
I can just run to school, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Alright, so basically, while I was on my way to school, I heard my bike making a metallic ticking noise, which is generally, if you know anything about vehicles, not ideal, suboptimal, if you will. So I decided, instead of, pulling over, because I didn't have time to do that, I was going to deal with it later. And that later was directly after the school day. It threw its timing chain. No compression, but the pistons were moving. So, what we did, mainly him, we found an engine from a GL500 Silverwing, which is, the engine is almost exactly the same kind of platform. This one was 3 years newer and has a couple more miles. But
to interject here, the engines are identical. The difference being is the bolt-ons have some differences because the frame is different on the GL500. But everything else about the engine is the same. What we were battling with is the year difference. Carry on, Cameraman Jerry.
The year difference. Now, the reason this CX500 threw the timing chain was because of a faulty timing chain tensioner. The GL500 engine has that updated timing chain tensioner, which means this will not be a problem. We got that bike running. I mean, pretty much it was just put some fuel in it, crank it over, it ran great, it sounded amazing. Downside was the bike didn't have time. So basically it's a worthless piece of scrap until you rip it apart and, sell the individual pieces. Sorry, okay. I gotta slow down. So, basically, what we've done so far is we've replaced the wiring harness after taking out the engine, of course. We've changed out the wiring harness.
Why have we changed the wiring harness?
Because the ignition module is not the same, as well as the GL500 engine has a transistive ignition instead of a capacitive discharge ignition, CDI, as opposed to a TI.
It has a transistorized ignition system, so instead of the capacitive discharge. So with the capacitive discharge, the charging system on the CX500 engine, it is there's one stator, and two of the coils on that stator are for running the ignition system. On the GL500 being a transistorized ignition system, it doesn't use that. Sorry, Cameraman Jerry, I'd clarify it a little bit more.
That's fair.
Carry on.
I am not 100% sure what I'm talking about. I'm picking it up and I'm rolling with it. So
he's learning. He's learning.
So what we found while the cameras were not rolling, we have this. This will switch the fuse box, which is here. It has fuses in it. It'll take them from the round glass fuses into your standard, I forget what they're called, fuses.
ATC fuses, also known as spade fuses.
Spade fuses, there we go. So, this is going to go right behind the airbox. It sits there very well. It'll be Velcroed in. Now, here's the fuses. We would have used this fuse box for the CX500. However, the
difference is in here.
Yes, that's
The
right.
shape is different and it's bigger and it will not actually mount in there.
And neither would the fuse box for the GL500. So that kind
That
of.
is the GL500.
Well, yes, but the actual box.
Yeah.
Did not. Did
Yeah,
not.
so we had some differences in the clamps, the forks, and we didn't want to take it that far because we would have had to have changed out the steering stem, and we would have had to have bought new steering stem bearings, which if we're going to do that, they're going to be upgraded from ball bearings to tapered roller bearings.
That gets expensive very quickly. Don't exactly have the money to do that. However, I think that's pretty much where we're at. Got the GL500 engine cleaned up. We are going to put a
Let's
new.
move the camera.
We are going to put a new.
There's the GL500 engine.
So what we're gonna do is we've got the camshaft seal, which I believe is here. That was leaking oil. Oh yeah, the fan comes up. This was leaking oil, so this was all coated in oil. So we're gonna be replacing that. We've got up here on the thermostat. There's a little bit in there. Where is it? There it is. Can't remember which one we need to use, but we need to put a gasket on there, or like an O-ring on there. We've got that, and then a shifter shaft seal, which, see if I can turn this around without crushing anything, is down here, right there. That was weeping. Not a huge issue.
You see the shifter shaft seal is in there.
Yeah. But it's pretty difficult to do that shifter shaft seal while the engine is in the bike. So we figured it was weeping, why not just replace it while it's out?
This is doing a little more than weeping.
Oh,
Everything was coated.
yes.
So now, are we replacing the tack drive seal?
That's right. We are also doing that because that was the one that was weeping.
We can't replace the tack drive seal.
Oh yeah.
It's discontinued.
That's right. I forgot.
So when
That
I
was okay.
find an aftermarket repop or a new old stock, we're gonna have to try and do this with the engine in the bike. That'll be fun.
Oh yes.
If it is actually leaking.
So, I think that's where we're at. At some point, I would also like to change this. CX500 has a single piston caliper. You can tell by the one circle. The GL500 has a dual piston caliper. It looks like it should mount the same, but we're just gonna have to see when we get there. I don't want to rush it.
So what is something else that we've done?
Oh, let me remember, because it has been a little bit.
Now remember, we have wiring differences and we had to change the wiring harness. What else have we done?
Ignition. We switched the ignition.
Besides that,
Bars.
besides the bars,
Wiring
the bars
harness,
weren't 100% necessary, but we did it anyway.
They're nice bars.
Okay, so I'm
I
gonna
forget.
kind of.
Right.
I'm waving around what we've done here.
We replaced this. And this was an interesting, the gauge cluster. This was interesting because the mounting for this, it's really floppy right now, because the mounting for this was slightly different. Instead of the bolts being here,
I'm going to interject here. It was massively different. I might take over on this little section before I take it back to Cameraman Jerry. So, I'm going to hand the camera to Cameraman Jerry. I'm going to hand my phone because he can see what's going on there. Okay, so basically, our intent is we were going to put the GL500 stuff on here. A, it looks nicer, and B, the wiring differences. Because we had to switch we didn't have to change the wiring harness. However, converting this being set up to as a CDI system to a stock TI system, transistorized ignition system, we would have had to have cut into the wiring harness, rerun wires. It would have been way more work than just a bike that we can't use, just stripping the wiring harness out of it and then putting it into this bike. So that is what we did. Now, I didn't realize when we went to do this, this was not a direct bolt-on. The way this mounts on the GL500 is fundamentally different than the CX500. On the GL500, the bracket that holds all this stuff together has studs going through. And where it goes through is in a different location. There's just a lot of differences. So I figured, well, we'll just take all this stuff off of the mounting bracket and move it to the CX500 mounting bracket. It worked for the TAC, it worked for the Speedo, but it didn't work for the light cluster. That's a problem.
Is a really nice light cluster, which is why I wanted to keep it.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Vintage styling, it's beautiful. And it's in really, really good shape. So, but how this mounted between the two bikes was different. So on this, it has a stud that goes through and a stud that goes through. Here and here. On the inside, obviously. And a nut that goes on the backside. On the CX, it's here and here. It's kind of problematic. So I thought about it and thought about it for it probably, what would you say, half hour?
Yeah.
So I thought about it for about a half hour. It's like, you know, we can through bolt it. We'll just figure out where the stuff needs to go through. We'll drill the holes through the back side of the housing and we'll through bolt it. So what we did was, that's exactly what we did. But I took and I cut the nut certs that were melted into the plastic out of the old one. And this way we could use the bolts for it with the isolators and everything, the rubber isolators, so it's not hard mounted, because it does need to dampen vibrations. And I put them in there and we bolted it through. It's a little floppy right now, but I do have some rubber pads that we're going to put on the top and slide it up underneath on the bottom, and we'll super glue it to the metal bracket. This way it won't be quite so floppy. It'll still have the vibration dampening and we'll be good. We have a wiring nightmare here that we will be working on. So, alright, so now that I've gone over that, just because I have a little more of an understanding of what I did than Cameraman Jerry.
I was just kind of sitting there watching. I was emotional support.
So I will take the camera and I'll hand this back off to Cameraman Jerry, because this is his bike. And he can kind of go over the rest of the stuff we've done, and then we'll show you the parts that we have and what we're going to do.
Alright, stop. Another thing about this speedometer, it goes up to 80 instead of 120 like the other one. There's, you know, Honda for the longest time put up to 120.
Why did they do that, and why did they switch?
They did that because most of the bikes couldn't go over 120. It's my guess.
Nope.
I don't know.
DOT, United States Department of Transportation regulation.
Right, because
they figured if the speedometer didn't read more than 80, 85 miles an hour, people would think that the bike or car, because cars were the same, They'd think they couldn't do it.
And that's not true, because people like to go fast. Anyways, these are the ignition coils, and I forget why they're a little bit shorter. These are specifically designed for the not Goldwing, Silverwing, GL500 Silverwing.
Well, there's one other major difference. We didn't measure the difference in resistance between the primary side on these, but the
Right.
resistance is going to be different because they are fundamentally they would work, but they wouldn't last long.
We could just do what we did on the GS, where it just kept burning through. Keep putting ST1100 coils on it. That worked. Not very well though.
It was burning up CDI or the
CDI
not
box.
CDI boxes, but the TCI box.
Right. So I don't think there's anything else. There is something else. We've got. Ooh, stop it. These are the transistors. Most of it is heatsink, but there's a little transistor in there. And this, everything's falling. This is going to probably be removed from this plastic and then put somewhere onto this fender where the rest of the electronics used to be. Because these on the GL would fit here. There's no room there. So, you know, we make do with what we can. We're gonna try and make it look slightly less like a crackhead did it.
Slightly less, it won't look
Slightly
like
less.
a crackhead did it.
Yeah.
So basically what we're doing is by putting them here, and actually on the later CX500s that had that this ignition system. The GL500 got it before the CX500. They were actually mounted here.
Okay. Long-winded intro, but that gives context for context lovers. Now what we got to do is replace those seals, and then take that and hopefully get it slightly mounted, or
Now,
wiring done. One of the two.
yep. Now, for those of you that might be working on a CX500 and you have to do something like replace the camshaft seal, let's get over here. Yeah, replace the camshaft seal that sits behind the fan. You'll take the center bolt out of the fan, but if you notice here, it might be hard to see, but that is a tapered shaft. There is no keyway on that shaft. So the fan just sits on there, and when you tighten up the bolt, if friction fits it on there. You will not get that out in any way except for, might be hard to see, but there are threads in there. So you thread in the appropriate size bolt, and then it pushes on the shaft and pops this fan off. Now, if you're wondering what you're going to do with that, if you have the bike properly set up to where it's not going to fall over, you can take the rear axle out. And that threaded end right there, that's what you need. So you'll thread that into the end of the fan. We'll pretend like the fan is on here. You'll thread that into the end of the fan. You'll hold the fan and you'll tighten it up. And you'll put a screwdriver or something in that hole. And you'll tighten it up and it'll just pop off.
Or you can do what normal people do and just use a big old bolt. But
Well, you'd have to know, you'd have to have the special tool or know the size and the thread pitch. So, you got kind of the backstory. You're kind of seeing where we're at. Yeah, it looks like something has vomited in our motorcycle shop. But yeah, it'll get cleaned up. It's a small shop. It's actually a 14 by 12 metal shed that I put together.
The Insta360 makes it look much larger than it is.
Yeah, not really.
Well,
it makes it look a little
once you
smaller.
see it on the computer, it'll look smaller. But
so, without further ado, I think well, let's show the seals we're going to be using here. Okay, so Cameraman Jerry, I'm going to hand this to you.
all right.
Okay, now this right here, this is our shifter shaft seal. This is the same between all years of the CX500 and the GL500. If you need to know the part number, there is the part number. It is still available from Honda. I'm sure there's aftermarket repops, but go with a good name brand or OEM if you can. Which I believe OEM manufacturer for this is actually NGK. But I didn't know they made seals until I saw the name on the seal.
NGK is a very good brand.
Right out of Japan. Next one in this little bag, next two I think. Next one. We have the O-ring for the thermostat. It is such a pain to get in there that we figure, and the other O-rings were swollen, we figured it'd be best just to replace the O-ring. Then we have the oil filter. If you need to know that part number, there is the part number. Okay.
Likelihood of finding those in stock is slim to none, so you're gonna have to special order it.
Well, they're used in several bikes.
Not very common though. Not very common that parts are held onto.
Next one here. There's the part number. This is the camshaft seal. Okay. I think that's it. So I think the lowest hanging fruit is going to be this camshaft seal. So I believe that's what we're going to deal with. Okay. So now, Cameraman Jerry, you can come over here. You should be able to flip the legs out on that tripod and just set it right down there so you get a good view here.
Something like that seems decent. It can be moved closer as well.
All right. Okay.
There is an engine in my way.
Yes.
And a big old motor.
Okay, so first step, we need to get this seal out of here. So in order to do that,
have a seal puller.
no, and we wouldn't be able to get it in there anyway. We're gonna show you guys a little trick here. It's a very old trick. For those of you that don't know, we are going to actually use a drywall screw or a deck screw. So we need to find one in here. I may send Cameraman Jerry to go grab a drywall screw. I'll just go grab one. And I'll chat with you. Hey, while you're at it, grab me a beer too, please.
Okay. Dinner.
So, we've got this. So the hanger is actually different between the GL500 and the CX500. The hangers for... Oh, do we still have it in here? I don't think we do. Or if we do, it's not easily accessible. So the hangers are different because the GL500 top frame, it's actually not as robust of a frame it appears on the GL500, but it has these aren't connected like they are here. So it just kind of goes down like here, and it's wider. So it goes down, up, like here, and the same on this side. The CX500 has a single giant tube that this goes and bolts through onto. And that's where some of the bolt-ons are different, because the thermostat housing for the GL500, it just has a straight tube with the hose going here. The CX, it goes off this way, and then the hose goes over here to go on the radiator. So we also have to change the radiator. Not a big deal. We have the radiator from both of them. So there is that. Yeah, we'll be doing that. And we're also going to be putting different crash bars on. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to get all the stuff switched here, and then I believe we're going to try and stab this engine back onto the CX and just kind of get it hanging there. I believe that's what we're going to do. We're going to try for it. We're going to go for it. And let's see here. I'd give a toolbox tour because I've had some people asking for a toolbox tour. We got to get all the tools back in it. We got to get this all organized. It's a disaster in here. And then at some point we're going to get back onto the old Yamaha Maxim 750.
I also brought brake clean because we are out of it.
Why didn't you bring them all?
I didn't think about it. Didn't have enough hands, you know.
There's electrical tape, and I got some Super 88, a couple of rolls of Super 88 electrical tape, and then the cans of brake clean.
Alright, we'll get there when we get there.
So, alright.
Drywall screw.
Okay, so now we need the impact driver without knocking everything over.
But it's fun.
Okay, so now you got to be careful doing this because you don't want to mar up the housing and you don't want to mar up the shaft. So you got to kind of go like right in a good spot. Just like that. Now we need a pair of pliers.
Wrong door.
Preferably 90-degree ones if we got them in there, but I don't know if we do or not. Yep, we got them right there. Okay.
90 needles.
So, then you're going to grab a pair of pliers, and you're just going to pop that baby out just like that. As you can see, I can't. We have a seal right there. So now, let's see how... Actually, that seal was
just fine.
Was still kind of pliable.
Oh well. It's out now and it's got a hole, so.
Yeah, let's just put it back in there. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. We'll just toss some of the right stuff in the hole and call it good.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Master tips.
You know what would really suck? But if this was the wrong seal. That would stop us dead in our tracks. Well, it wouldn't stop us from putting